Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Conquerors Crew, and I have an awesome guest here today. Very interesting. It's going to be a really interesting, awesome show. I'm super excited about it. But before we get into it, and I talked to Patty from New York. I always kind of need to introduce to the new people, and for those of you that don't remember, our pillars. And let me run through those real quick for you. The three pillars of what the Conquerors Crew is about. And the first one is hope. And for us at the crew, hope stands for helping other people excel. And the reason we like to do it on Wednesdays is kind of a middle of the week, company hump day, kind of a checkpoint to say, am I having a good week? Am I not? And if you are, I hope that maybe you can pick up some hope. And if you have a little extra to give, well, that would be nice because I'm sure that somebody that's listening or going to listen is going to need a little bit. So that's hope is the first one. And then the second one is grit. And for us, grit stands for grace. The G is grace. And I'm not talking about the kind of grace that you give somebody when they make a mistake or something about that. I'm talking about it's the friendly reminder of having grace for yourself, right? It never seems like that we're always kind to others. And when I was going through my cancer journey, I had a buddy, a mentor that was older than me, kind of like my uncle when I lived in New Zealand. And he was with me one day and we were talking, and it was rough on me when I was going through the terminal cancer stuff. And he said, Trent, you are so kind to everyone else, but you're not kind to yourself. You need to learn to be kind to yourself. So that's what I'm saying with G with the grace. R is for resilience. Okay. And a lot of people can say, oh man, I never could have done what you've done and beat cancer 3 times. You know what? As human beings, we're amazing creatures. We rise to the occasion. We do things that are impossible. And I don't think you're either born with resilience or you're not. And don't put that on yourself where you're going to run an Ironman the first time, right? You got to practice a little bit. So, it's like anything else, right? And it has to be trained and it has to be built up, and it's just like a muscle. The I is for integrity. And then I'm not talking about the integrity where it's like, hey, you're breaking the rules. I'm talking about the kind of integrity when you're up at 3:00 in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror, and are you being honest with yourself? That's the kind of integrity I'm talking about. And then the T is for teachable. And, I believe that we're always teachable. I don't think we ever quit learning until we leave this planet and move on to the next place. And it seems like when we do get a bit cocky, we get knocked off our high horse. And the last one is no quit. So hope, grit, and no quit. Those are our three pillars. Welcome to the show, Patty. Thank you for listening. It takes me a minute or two to get through that. And hey, I'm just curious, did any of those kind of resonate with you, or did you have a comment about any of those just to kind of ease into the show?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I had a pen in my hand. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm near a window here. I had a pen in my hand because I'm like, wait a minute. I can't let this slip by. Yeah, I could go watch the replays, but I can't let this one slip by. And I wrote them down. I did write them down.
Nice.
My pen is my friend.
I
loved it. I really loved it. I really loved it. And I'm glad that you went through it. And I did, watch a few of your shows, but, I was watching without my pen. And today I'm like, my pen just happens to be handy. So I'm writing it down this time because it's worthy of writing down. So it sticks. But I really, really liked, hope, grit, the hope. I like just of the word hope. Let's be real, right?
I know that. Yeah, I know it's one of the things that you wanted to talk about. So yeah,
and I feel like hope is the mustard seed to faith, right?
Yeah,
hope is the mustard seed because, like, you can't have faith if you don't start with hope. So hope to me is the mustard seed. But helping other people, somehow there is this like self-serving of aftermath for some reason, right? What is that?
You know what? I feel like it's one of these kind of like, universal laws of the universe that we don't really know how it works. But, like if you need some hope and you can muster up and you can just give a little away to someone else, or you could help somebody else, and you're going through the middle of your poop and somebody calls you and they need a little advice, and you switch on and you can see their thing and you help them. I think it helps you. It's like, it's better to give than receive. It's better to give than receive thing. That's what I'm saying.
It's weird, but it's cool. It's weird, but it's cool. And then you did have me at Grace for Yourself. Now, if you know me well enough, I any room I go into, I usually start, grace and greetings. Grace to me is like a word. It's also my confirmation name. I love the word grace. Grace is, but that's so cool. Like you, but I love, this is the thing that I love what you shared though, is that from a different lens, grace to yourself, because I'm usually like, give grace to others, right? In that mind. But I love the self-care. I love that. Give grace to yourself, forgive yourself. So that was beautiful. So, resilience. Yeah, I feel you. I feel like, I guess you could give up, but I think resilience, is almost to me like, wanting to survive, wanting to thrive. You have to be a willing participant, and then you can be resilient. Humans are freaking amazing. Integrity, I love that you shared the same kind of concept with the hope. Like at the end of the day, you gotta answer to yourself, right? So are you being honest with yourself, and teachable, absolutely, and no quit, no quit. I like that. That's to the point. Let's get it on. So thank you for starting us off with that.
That's cool. I appreciate it. This is the longest I've ever talked with anybody about it. So it's pretty cool to me. I just created a page to add into my coaching page for the Conquerors Crew. I'm like, this thing's kind of getting where like people are looking this up and it needs something. And I may just clip this and put this on there because it's so good. So
it's worthy. It's worthy.
Yeah, cool. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, I'm from the South, and we have some people that tune in from X, and maybe they're on the audio, and that's kind of a glorified radio station, really, where they don't have a lot of video, and so people may not know what you look like. They may just hear your voice. It may just be kind of a radio show. So, I like to kind of just do the 20 questions, but it's not the 20 questions, right? So tell us where you're from, where you grew up, a little bit about who Patty from New York is.
Okay. Well, there is a little bit of a surprise, I think. So my name is Patricia D. Freudenberg, also known as Patty from New York. I'm a Yankee, can you tell? And, born here in New York, first generation, but not my first language. English is not my first language. Entonces yo nací de padres que son de Uruguay y tuve que aprender inglés. Y aprendí inglés en la escuela con Sesame Street. That's where I learned my English.
Wow. Entonces, I understood what you said a little bit.
Yeah. Entonces como mi nombre parece como tan americana, right? Because mis padres querían que tenga un nombre americana. Entonces no saben que soy español. So if you might have understood that, but for those who might have not, my parents, me and my sister are first generation. I'm the baby, she's the oldest, that's all we have. And they both from Uruguay. They came to America with dreams, and they did become entrepreneurs. Glory be to God. And at the end of the day, they wanted us to have a better life, so they gave us names with that in mind. Let me give them like names that are cultural here in America, and it worked. My sister's name is Virginia. Shout out to my sister, and she's like the mother hen, even though it's only two of us. And and I'm Patricia, but of course, right off the bat, I'm Patty. And this sun just keeps beaming in, so I'm not sure what's going on there.
But just so you want to. We're all good.
And
Oh,
then
good.
people that only hear me on Audible, because I do go on Clubhouse, which is an Audible app. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but
Okay. Okay.
it's still strong. I moderate some rooms there with my grief recovery and some other rooms that I
Oh,
co-host
nice.
with. And people, when they meet me in person, they say, "Wow, I thought you were so much taller," because I have a tall voice. I've come to learn, but I'm not so tall. Okay, I might
Ah,
disappoint. I'm 5 foot. I'm 5 foot, mighty and big in voice,
there you go. I
and
love it.
and
I
dark
love
hair,
it.
and naturally born with dark hair. And now, it might be a little enhancement, but that's okay.
Absolutely. Hey, you know what? I mean, I go, for many years, I really couldn't touch my feet because I had hip cancer and the hip surgery.
Oh,
I've had
gee.
12 hip surgeries over 5, 6 years, and it's
Ay,
just
ay, ay.
been, I was on crutches. It was a mess. And, it used to just bum me out because I couldn't even, I really literally couldn't get down to my foot. And trying to put my pants or my shorts on, everything. And my dad's like, you know what? Let's just go get a pedicure. And we had done that on cruises a few times because he'd done it with his buddies. He thought, loves it. Now, I don't really want anybody touching my hands. That's kind of weird. But hey, you know what, man? When you go get a pedicure and they rub your legs and it's in the warm water and they cut your toenails and it's $50 to go just get the royal treatment for an hour, it's just awesome, isn't it? I mean, you got to pamper yourself a little bit, right? So why
Yeah,
not?
yeah,
Why
it's
not,
great.
right?
It ends
You
up
know,
feeling real nice and
yeah,
special.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
a good thing. It's a good
Yeah,
thing.
I agree. I totally agree. So, gosh, well, hey, thanks for telling us that. That is cool. Your parents are originally from Uruguay, and well, I'm just curious. I'm just wondering, what kind of business did they have that was entrepreneurial? Yeah.
Well, yeah, so it's entrepreneurial, yes. However, definitely interesting. So my father, so the first half of my younger life, right, until my 20s, let's say, my father owned racehorses. And back in the 70s, oh,
Oh,
I'm dating myself, back in the 70s, it was a profession, right? He owned racehorses, he had horse
sure.
trainers. We were in the winner circle. I was in the back with the jockeys. It was great and
Wow.
wonderful. My mom was a stay-home mom,
Okay.
and that was the story. That was the story. He comes.
Wow.
So my maiden name is Velazquez. That might give it away, Velazquez. So we come from a lineage of horse, horse breeding and family.
Okay.
Okay. So
Gotcha.
with that being said, as the years turned, it became a rich man's sport, and it wasn't lucrative anymore. So then we were getting older, and my father would not let me become a jockey, which is a whole story in itself. And my mom said, you have to pick something else. So they sent Patty to beauty school.
Oh,
During high school, vocational during high school, because I didn't do well while I was in high school. I just wasn't, a
yeah.
little attention deficit, a little dyslexia. Definitely
I
was,
gotcha.
doing my own thing. So I went to beauty school. It ended up being, the best thing that ever happened to me. And I was a beautician for 35 years. And then my mom became a beautician with me towards my second year of beauty school. She
Oh,
got
cool.
her license, and then we opened up a family shop. We put our money in. I had money saved. I was going to
Oh,
go to
cool.
college, but decided I don't want to go to college. I want to be an entrepreneur and open up
Yeah.
my business with my mother. And it's still
So
standing
cool.
today, except I changed careers because now I'm doing Miss You Graham, and
Yeah.
I'll be happy to talk about it. But yeah, it's a total
Yeah.
shift, total
I,
change of chapters, change
I
of book,
get it.
whatever you want to call it, but a
Yes.
change. But yes, my mom, God rest her soul, she passed away unfortunately to heart failure 2 years
Yeah.
ago. But
Okay.
we're doing okay. The family stayed strong. I have
Yeah.
a new relationship with her now because it is the afterlife, and
Yes.
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, you know what? That's so cool. That's really neat.
Thank you.
You got to work with your mom, and you guys I'm sure you had a bunch of laughs, and you cut up a lot, and so I mean, hey, the stories, right? It's like in the
We had
barbershop
all
in
of
the
it.
salon.
Okay, we had all of it. We had laughs, and we had
You had some drama, a little bit of drama too.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
get it.
But I
Hey,
was a good kid. I would never talk back to my mom. I would just pout and be annoyed and whatever. But I was a good kid. I was a good kid. I could say that. I was a very respectful daughter. I must say that.
That's awesome. That's cool. That's cool. Awesome. You know, I did kind of the same thing. You know, I got my degree in IT and business, and I did that for 10 years. And then I had this like kettle corn popcorn thing kind of fall in my lap. It became a weekend business that grew into like a manufacturing business, and I quit doing the IT after
Wow.
like
Shocked
9 months,
everybody?
and I did popcorn for 14, 15 years. Yeah. What's
Wow.
that?
Shocked everybody? Did you shock everybody? Because I pretty much
Oh,
like
yeah.
everybody was like, what?
Oh, yeah. Like, my roommate for 7 years told me about, well, I knew him for probably 12 or so. About 7 or 8 years after we'd been friends, he said, we thought we needed to do an intervention with you, that you had lost your mind, that you were going to go in business with this guy that was going to steal all your money, and that it was going to be crazy. And I'm like, you guys just didn't have any idea, like I used to wake one of them up that was hungover on Saturday morning, and he would up and make him come out to the market and sling corn with me, and then I'd take him to the pizza shop afterwards and buy a pitcher of beer and pizza, and that's how I'd pay him. He wouldn't take any money from me, and after a while, so that's how I kind of got going. And but hey, you know what? Isn't it good? Isn't it nice to be able to like do something for a while and say, you know what? I think I've had my run, and I'm this, and then you change over and you kind of start over and you do something new and something different in life. And I think a lot of people wish they had the guts to do that, and they just don't do it. And I've just always been one of those. I just don't care. I'm just going to go for it, man. And hey, for better or worse, right? Because indecision for me, it just I lose it. It destroys me. So I'd rather be going in a direction and go like, oh well, if this was wrong, and turn back around and then go the other way. Because hey, at least I did something. At least I was moving. At least I was going somewhere instead of just like going in a circle with a chicken with his head cut off. So I love that. That's super cool. So that kind of brings me to, okay, so you had the salon, you did the thing with your mom, and you've moved into like a grief coach. And tell me a little bit about how that transpired and how that journey has been. I'm really interested about that.
Well, it is really interesting, even to me, believe it or not. Okay, so I just want to disclose, I always loved what I did. And people would say, well, then why would you change? Because, when you have a vision and a calling, it's just an inner knowing, and nobody could see it for you, just like nobody could speak in first person for you. And, it was bittersweet because some people just, the reason why I didn't do it any sooner when I realized this, I didn't want to disappoint others. They were counting on me for being that person. But going back to your question, the interesting part is that people ask me now, right? Because I'm going 10 years in now, believe it or not. And it's just sprouting. So when you have a vision and a purpose, stick with it, because you don't know how long it may take. But again, have a little resilience. If you really know it's your passion and your purpose, stick to it. So people ask me now, Trent, oh, did you have a severe loss? Did you have like a tragedy that made you shift like this and become a grief consultant? And I'm like, no, I did have a lot of losses. I'm not going to say I haven't, but that wasn't the reason why. That wasn't the reason why. The reason why is while I was a beautician and I was making people look beautiful on the outside, while they sat in my chair, oftentimes, at least once a week, it felt like somebody was going to bury a loved one. And when I gave them, you're going to like this one, hold on to your seat, Trent. When I gave them grace and space to talk about it, I saw them relieved, and I made them feel beautiful on the inside, because talking about such things are limited time offers. Unless you're paying a therapist or going to a funeral, nobody wants to talk about it. It's like the elephant in the room. It's penny dreadful. So I said, no, you know what? I'm going to create a table, a metaphoric table that people could just talk about it without having to feel fixed, just being heard and seen and
Yeah.
getting, to relieve themselves of how they feel for the moment. You don't have, and again, my area of focus is legacy. As I jumped into this line of work, at first, I wasn't sure where I was going with it
Yeah.
because, being a grief consultant, or as it says on my certificate on the wall, death doula, I qualify also, just like going to college for marketing. You could sell stocks, or you could do, loans, or you could do ads. A lot of things we could do with this, right? And
Sure.
most death doulas are at the bedside of somebody who's about to transition, which I qualify for and I'm
Yeah.
empathic for. But I realize that's not my area of focus. My area of focus is for the person who's in the land of the living, and to remind you that you are worthy of
Gotcha.
living a life to be remembered as well, honoring what was while embracing what is to be.
That's really cool, because I think most people do think of, it's somebody that is kind of a palliative care kind of nurse, if you
Yep.
will.
Yep.
I think that's what a lot of people would think of, like a grief consultant.
Yep.
But you are the grief consultant on the side of the people that are the ones that are going to really experience the grief,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I do advocate for, the person who has gone to the afterlife, making sure that their wishes were fulfilled. That's very important. That's one
I
of the
agree. Yeah.
ethics, that was learned. But we also want to help the person who is grieving get on with their life. And you come to me when you're ready for it. And in fact, my guidebook that I have, Live Your Legacy, a new spin on mourning, it's 50 pages. It's easy to read verbatim. You could probably read it in 20 minutes, but it's not meant for that. It's meant to take it one day at a time, one chapter at a time, and just discern, think, look at it from a different perspective. There are practices in there that might not be your typical practices, but it's just a new way to look at life. Because when we are faced with grief, Trent, we are faced with our own mortality. We realize how precious life is.
Sure.
But you come to Patty when you are ready to recover. And sometimes, you need trust the process. Yeah. Trust the process. Sometimes you need to go to somebody else who's going to be a little bit more softer and going to walk you through that stage and coddle you a little bit more. I'm more of like, the coach on the sideline of like a Knicks game. I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's do it. You're living. We could do this. That's who I am. And I'm not for everybody, and that's okay, because I'm for somebody.
Sure.
And sometimes people take a long time to get to me. But then when they get to me, I could promise you they're happy they did, because I'm bringing legacy to a global awareness. And thank you for giving me grace to say this, because it's very important. We know about the 5 stages of grief, right? And I'm not going to go through them because I'll sit here for 5 hours. There's the 6th stage of grief, which David Kessler brought to attention. And now Patty from New York is bringing the 7th stage of grief, legacy. Okay. It's the light at the end of the tunnel, living a life to be remembered.
Cool. That's cool. I'm just curious. Have you had anybody, that you've talked with and been, like, I just don't think we're a fit, and, I don't want to do that with you, and it just isn't right. And maybe you give them, a friend that would be better suited to them, and something like that. I'm just curious. Have you had that experience?
Absolutely. So I have been asked multiple times, but I do not do it for a few reasons. But I'm not a one-on-one. I'm not. And I'm not, because I'm not the coddler. And the one-on-one is, and I'm not saying it in a way, sometimes it comes off a little rough around the edges, maybe because I'm from New York. I don't know. I don't mean it that way. I just want to be raw and real. So I work better in a group. And sometimes in a group, somebody will come to me on the sideline and say, hey, I might say a few points or share an article, because I write articles that are free public newsletters, and it's for the griever, and it's, again, a new spin on it, a new spin on looking at things, right? And it's for personal development. And I use resources usually from Stanford University, Harvard University. Again, I disclose I am not a medical doctor by choice. I'm not a therapist by choice, because I have the freedom to go to school and become one of those things. I am a consultant by choice, because I could say things outside the normal lines, which I love. I could talk about God. I could talk about, what do you think about, life after death? When you take some of these professions, you take an oath saying, I won't cross these lines. I can. Right. So, I like that. I like those conversations. I like those conversations that we could go down a rabbit hole. I won't do one-on-one.
That's cool.
Because even if
I get a little bit of the I get a New Yorker kind of feel from you, and typically, no offense, right? New Yorkers, they're just a little bit more brash. They're a little more direct. They're just a little bit more, and that's what their style is. And you know what? I think it's very intuitive that you see that you know that you understand it, and you're not like, hey, I'm not. You're not rude about it. You're just like, hey, this is good, and I've learned that this works best for me. And if you do need, say, one-on-one, then please go find that. Let me help you find that. Go do that. And then if you want to do the group thing with me, or Miss U Graham, or the legacy, then come back and we can work on that. But I just learned too, like square peg round hole. Don't do it, man. It just doesn't work. Especially with the kind of stuff that we do. Oh man, I mean, it can just make your personal life even miserable.
Totally. But you know what I do love and adore is that when I have these open groups, right, there will be other coaches, right, and some even in my lane that are completely different. And I love that, because we need variety. It's like going to a shoe store. All shoes are going to, be able to, take you places. But sometimes some people need boots. Some people need sandals, some people need sneakers, some people need slippers, and that's okay. And so I welcome to collaborate with other like-minded professionals, whether they're death doulas or coaches or whatever they want to call themselves, but I welcome it. And because I sometimes, there's two mindsets, right? There's the more the merrier, or that we're competitive. Oh, you're doing what I do, so don't come near me. Nah, I don't operate like that. This world is abundant. This world is abundant. We could all help. So that's my mindset.
Yeah, me too. I'm just like, there's plenty to go around. I mean, I don't need to be in competition. I don't mind sharing. It's not like
exactly.
I mean, I don't have a problem, with getting business and people wanting to talk to me and all that kind of stuff. So I just try to do me and be me. And I just try to do right by folks, right? You just try to do the right thing with them. And you don't want to waste their time or your time. And, you do it a few times and you realize, man, this just didn't go right. Or, and you think, a couple of times I'm like, well, everything. Well, it just wasn't the right fit, because it just wasn't. And it's not their fault. It's not your fault. It's just, that's why God made us all different. Right. And I think that's what's beautiful about the world. So
just like going to school, Trent.
Well, tell us a little bit about Miss You. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just to finish up what you're saying, it reminds me of like going to school, and you could have two kids in the same classroom. I love this teacher. I can't stand this teacher.
Right.
It's also, some people are audio, some people are visual. Like it's, the delivery of the coach, the teacher, the doctor, whatever. There has to be a synergy there, right? There has to be a synergy there of some degree. So yeah, I'm just in agreement with that. But you were asking about Miss Graham.
Yeah. I was just gonna.
Did you say Miss Graham?
I was gonna ask you about Miss U Graham and where that came from, and tell us like where the name is and what it is. And I see you have a butterfly with it, and and tell us a little bit about all that.
Well, thank you for asking that, because it's the foundation of everything I do. So if you follow me on social, you're going to say, well, she does this and she does that and she does this and she does that. It's all those things are rooms under one big house. And that house, the foundation is Miss You Graham. I wouldn't have been a grief consultant. I wouldn't be an author. I wouldn't be a host of a show. I wouldn't be a public speaker. I wouldn't be any of those things if it wasn't for the house of Miss You Graham. So thank you for asking that. So the butterfly, when I finally, for 7 years, I talked about this concept of there needs to be a place that people could go and share, their feelings about their loved one. I talked about it for 7 years. Okay. And that was 10 years ago. And finally my daughter said, and by the way, I did not exist on social media prior to Miss You Graham. And my daughter, but I kept talking about this idea. And my daughter said, Mommy, why don't just stop talking about it? Why don't you just do an app? And because I was so clueless, like I heard about Facebook, but I never went on Facebook. I heard about all the other social medias. I just never used them. So I didn't know they were called apps. So what do I say to my daughter? I go, Brooke, my oldest daughter, Brooke. I go, Brooke, what is an app? She goes, Mommy, Facebook is an app. I go, oh, that's an app. And you know what? Next thing you know, I'm like, you know what? Now she gave me a little accountability. And I said, I'm going to use Google. I got brave. I got on Google, which was not like me. I've got to be honest. I just was barely on YouTube there. And, like looking at things, never, ever be having a social presence. And lo and behold, I Googled how. Next thing you know, I started putting my operation system about how I would want to do this. And the first thing I ever did in my area of work, the foundation, is the app. It's a free public service. So if you miss somebody that passed away, store or the Google Play Store, it's free. It has about 26 or 27 rollouts because of compliance. I got sued by Instagram. I can't disclose the details, but I beat them. And I've come a long, long way. It was sweat equity. If I could, blood and sweat equity. Okay. And again, I invested everything because for me, the purpose supersedes the profit. And I believe in the laws of reciprocity, but I was called, and there were days, Trent, that I felt like, like scripture, like almost feeling like, almost not feeling sorry for myself, but almost like, why me, God? Because I knew it was a calling, and it felt like God summoned me, right? I don't know if you resonate with that feeling, right? With what you did, but it's like you get this calling, and it's like, gosh, I didn't know, but I got myself into, but I knew it was me to fulfill.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's awesome.
So that was the start of it. That was the start.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it's MISSU, like the letter U, and then Graham, GRAM. So
yes.
Just so people realize, how to spell it and what it is. It's Miss You Graham. And
thank you.
I don't know if it's breaking up on your side. It's breaking up a bit on mine. So apologize if I'm asking something you said, but okay. The Miss and the U, and I heard there was something with Instagram, and you had a lawsuit or something. Can you just tell me about that a little bit again, if you already said something?
When I went to go do a registered trademark, they just gave me some, pushback.
Okay.
They gave me some pushback. But we worked it out. Again, I don't want to, get taken to court now for talking too much about it. But we worked it out. And the point is this: when you ask me about the name, how do you convey missing somebody? It's hard to improvise that word. Longing, I guess we could say, right? We could say longing. But I had invested so much into branding and marketing at that point. And again, blood, sweat equity, like you won't even believe, besides real investments, and right. I wasn't going to let it go. And, how do you convey that message? And again, the word Graham, that's exactly what it means to convey a message via recording, writing, or video. So, that's why I chose that name for this, purpose, is
Gotcha.
because how do you convey that message? And I used the butterfly because I had read a quote that I thought was so apropos. First of all, the butterfly, I think we could all agree that at some point in time, we all can relate a butterfly to somebody who passed away, right? It's just one of those things, like a penny from heaven, right? A feather, certain things. So a butterfly is one of those things, right? A cardinal, there's a few of them, but a butterfly is one of them. But I picked the butterfly because I had just around that time that I was starting to put this all together, a quote by Richard Bach. Actually, my friend shared it with me. And then I was like, oh, wow, that's a great quote. What the caterpillar called the end of the world, God called the butterfly, and it's transformation. And, it signifies the afterlife. And then I drew that butterfly. Oh, I wish I had do I have oh no, I don't have the drawing. I have it somewhere else. But I remember drawing that butterfly with a Sharpie one evening right before going out to dinner with my family. My family's like, what are you doing now? Now, when you get in the flow and you're like passionate, I was like, I have to finish this. But it was a side view, and it's very intentional. And people are like, why'd you pick black and white? Well, the white represents the soul and the halo and the aura. All right. And then there's a little cryptic MUG in there, but it looks like swirls, but it's actually cryptic MUG. And that represents like the soul. And then the outline represents the aura. And then the black represents our shell, right? Our flesh, our shell that decays at some point in time. So, and it's a 3D view. It's a different view. It's a side view because, again, it's all about perspective. So that's the story behind the butterfly and the name.
Cool. I love it. It's kind of your logo, if you will. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. It is. I put it on everything. Any day now. I'm surprised I don't have a tattoo yet. Yeah.
Well, a couple of topics that you had to discuss today. I thought, tell us a little bit about transforming grief into legacy, and you have something about living your legacy while you're here. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think that's interesting. Because I've written a few chapters in books. I've co-authored some books, and when you're writing about yourself like that in your cancer journey, you kind of get that feeling, that kind of legacy feeling of kind of looking back at, and how do I want people to view that story, and how do they want to remember that story, and how do I want to tell it, right? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, I'll keep it as basic as possible for the sake of time, but it's about the footprint that you're leaving, right? The footprint that you're leaving. Like, what footprint are you leaving? Like, again, when we're faced with grief, we face our own mortality. And, again, not to be petty dreadful, just to be raw and real, we're here for a limited time offer. And we'll probably wake up tomorrow, but it's not promised to anybody. Let's be real. And as a grief consultant, right, I'm sure firemen and police and nursing and doctors, also realize how precious life is because they probably see it on a daily. Well, I hear it on a daily. I don't see it on a daily, but I hear it on a daily. And I hear tragedy. I hear about old age, but I also hear about the child. I hear about the car accident. I hear about the cancer that didn't survive. I hear it all. And, I do my analytics, and there's approximately 7,000 plus people on a daily that don't have the privilege to wake up in the morning. And that's where legacy comes in. You got to take matters into your own hands, and you can't stop time. It's going to happen, right? One way or another. Hopefully we live long lives, but at some point we are here for a limited time. But life is beautiful. But if you could leave a footprint, what do you want to be remembered by? Like, be you, boo. Don't wither away, because you're either going to regenerate or degenerate. It's one or the other. That's bottom line. That's fact. And as a grief consultant, I like to empower. So I like to teach things that are going to lift your vibration and change your perspective. And the things I teach are 100% possible. Again, 100% possible. Now that's a strong statement, but this is the catch. Is it probable? That's up to you. I can't fix you. I could guide you. Go ahead. I could go on and on.
Am I skip a bit? Because you know what? We have had some weather here and my internet has been up and down a few times. So I don't know if it's skipping on your side at all or if it's pretty smooth, but on mine it's been up and down crazy. So I apologize if it's okay. You know, a little choppy on your side or whatever. We've had some really crap weather and I mean, I don't know what's going on. The internet seemed fine all day.
Funny, and, you know. It's not funny, but so my end is not choppy, my end, right? But your end is choppy. And yesterday, on my podcast, I have a podcast as well. So hello, fellow podcaster, Live Your Legacy. And I had a guest that I was really, really excited about. I was waiting a while for, and I finally have this guest on my show, Dr. JC Dornick. And my side was so choppy, I wanted to crawl into a hole. I could not believe it. So I think it's ironic now that my side has said, of course, my side is working good today. It couldn't work good yesterday, but now you're having the experience I had. So trust me, I'm okay. Cool. I get it. You're good. Yeah. It's still fun.
Yeah, good, excellent. You know, StreamYard, it puts a lot like bandwidth and load on the computer. So that's probably what it was. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like if it's driving you crazy, you know, then you know, we could stop. But if you're good, I'll just keep rocking, man. So you know, I just didn't want to I don't want you to think like, oh my God, this guy's not listening. It's like I'm not actually catching a few of it because I have literally lost my internet connection a few times, and I'm like, okay,
it's okay. I know what it feels like.
Yeah, all good. You know, and hey, this is what it's like, man. This is true. This is real. This is life. This is what it is. And you know what? I'm not going to get upset about it, and I'm not going to get shitty about it. I'm just going to work with it. And we're going to do our best and keep rolling. You know.
So you know what my guest said? You know what my guest said? Could you hear that? My guest said this that made me at ease. He goes, you know what? Nobody really cares.
Fair enough. Right. But you do. Right. And it matters to you. And
but like nobody cares to the point of like, oh my God, I'm going to stop following them, or, oh my God, I'm never going to talk to them again. Like it's not the end of the world. Yeah. It's not the end of the world. So, if this is the worst thing that happened to you and me, God bless us.
Hey man. Yeah, today, I mean, hey, you're exactly right. Just keep it in reality. Keep it, Yeah, exactly. So we were kind of talking about transforming grief into legacy and living your legacy. And I honestly am not sure if you had kind of completed what we were talking about or not, but I just wanted to see where we were.
Well, I said a mouthful, so I think the viewers will get the drift. But the bottom line is this: the message is this. Live on purpose. Live on purpose. Live for purpose. Even a button serves a purpose, but don't sit in decay because it's either one or the other. You're either going to degenerate or regenerate. So, be purposeful. Even if your thing is to smile good, that will be your legacy. There's no too small or too big of a legacy. It's living a life to be remembered. And the slogan of my company is everybody wants to be remembered. And there might be people out there that might push back and say, I don't want to be remembered. But I don't believe it.
And that's what I kind of plan to do. And well, I'm glad it worked out because I'm still here, over 5 years later. So You know, God just had other plans. Well, we had a few arguments. And then we kind of made some agreements and decided that, I would do this instead of, come to heaven early, because he's like, we're not ready for you. We don't want you yet. So I'm happy about that. My parents are happy, but we're all happy that most people I think are happy I'm still here. But we all have a few, right?
Yeah.
Well, emotion. Okay, so some of the other topics that I'd like to cover with you are emotional resilience and personal reinvention. Tell us about that a little bit.
Wow. Well, I don't take no for an answer very well. Like I said, Instagram try to stop me, and I just don't take no for an answer. People say I'm doing too much. I almost listened, and then I said, nah, because at the end of the day, I have to listen to Patty, right? I have to listen to Patty, but not always Patty's head, because sometimes, Patty's head is not always thinking the right way. Sometimes I get in my own way very, very much, but Patty's heart, Patty's heart, it's that wisdom within, not what we know with knowledge. And a pastor, Pastor Prophet Anthony, Dr. Anthony Shannon, shout out, I want to say that he taught me something, because again, coming from a biblical perspective and teaching in Proverbs, and I know this is non-denominational, but if you give me grace to share, in the book of Proverbs, in the First Testament, I believe it's Proverbs 1, but it's Proverbs, wisdom is referred to as a feminine, as a she. Wisdom is a she. I'm speaking slow, so in case you get cut, so I want you to be able to appreciate this. And I said to him, I asked him, I said, Dr. Prophet Anthony Shannon, why is wisdom referred to as a she? And he said, because it gives birth to knowledge. So the wisdom comes from within. It's a knowing. It's an innate knowing, like babies knowing they're hungry, right? It's an innate thing. And it gives birth to knowledge. And then once we have knowledge, it's actionable. You could use it or not, and that's a whole different story too. But knowledge is masculine and it's actionable. So that's what I got for you with that question.
Cool. I like that. I've never heard them kind of, put into genders, but they work together, right? And that's,
absolutely.
That's cool. I like that. I've heard that before. One of the other things was how purpose and service, how do they become part of your legacy and part of your healing journey, right?
Well, again, a quote, quotes are so amazing, right? They do something to us, right? That's why they're still around thousands of years later. So there was a quote when I started Michigram and I realized I was summoned, right? I found the quote by Henry Ford, and it was about destiny. And it said, destiny is to find out what one's purpose is to do and then do it. Simple, but truth. And, and again, people, when I started doing this, I didn't believe that you should have to pay tribute to a loved one, because again, now I'm all about legacy. But when I started, it was about, being able to have a place to grieve your loved one, right? And memorialize them. So that's the foundation, right? Still honoring those that have been here, the ancestors that taught us, that paved the way, right? That left something behind, that we cherish and hold, right? So when I started, there was no money involved at all for years. And in fact, I didn't have any products or services at all. And my husband, my secret investor, he was like, if you really believe in this, then I believe in you. And I was like, okay. I said, and when I started working with advisors and strategic advisors, well, how are you making money on this? I said, well, I'm not. But that to me, again, I'm a woman of God, and yes, we need to feed our family too. My husband would appreciate if I could contribute, and now I do. Even though I was a hairdresser, at one point in time I was doing both, like you. It was a side gig, and then 2 years ago it became a full-time gig because I realized there was time. It was probably time 5 years ago, but again, my heartstrings were pulling because I didn't want to disappoint people. I was a beautician for so long. It was a family business, a lot of strings attached, and I didn't have the heart to let them down. But at the end of the day, I had to fulfill my purpose. I loved what I did, but it was time to move on. And I do believe in the goodness of God and the laws of reciprocity. And, some seeds, you don't know when they're going to sprout. Some seeds fall on, dirt roads. Some seeds fall on good soil. But I'm spreading my seeds. And I know because it's already been fulfilled, God's reciprocity, so that's
beautiful.
That's how it is.
I love that. I love that. About like Miss Ugram, and tell us what it is, and if people wanted to do it or use it, or give us a little bit kind of like the platform and how, if people want to do this legacy thing, how they do that with you.
Well, thank you for asking again. So if you go to I have a few websites, right? Because I'm doing a lot of things, but it's one big house, right? So do you want to go to the kitchen? You want to go to the den? You want to go to the restroom? You want to go to the backyard? But it's one big house, one big foundation. So if you go to the website, Miss Ugram, right? You're going to find newsletters, which are really beautiful. I write these letters. I've always been a writer, even since I'm a little girl. Poetry and stories, song. I've always been a writer. So for the last couple of years, for the past 2 years, a different perspective with a uplifting spin on it. And I like to use either testimony or resources to back it up. Cool. Sometimes it comes from a wild and out notion. But again, I like to use something to kind of solidify my message, right? And so I have the newsletter on there. Also, if you want to send, a sympathy gift, well, I have the shop there, so you could send a sympathy gift. We have the celebrant mug, so it's a mug of a loved one if you want to share, again, a sympathy gift. And we also have the app is on there, so if you want to find the app, if you're not in the Google Play Store, you could just get it right off the website. It will lead you to the Play Stores. We have that too. So just a lot of just information. I have the 7 stages of grief if you want to know a little bit more about that. They all serve a purpose, believe it or not. And then I have my other website, which is from Live Your Legacy, which is my podcast, and it's new. It's a new show, but it's thriving. And that is that website is livelegacy.vip or livelegacy.vip. Live and live, same word, whichever way you want to have it. And you could check that out. And that's thriving and doing well. And you might also see an event that I'll be speaking at. Again, I'm a public speaker, so I'll be speaking at an event called Ever Mindful for the Mind, Body, and Soul in Connecticut for the second year. On September 26th, of this year.
Cool. So, guys, if you want to get in touch with Patty from New York, for Miss Ugram, it's miss-u-gram.com. So don't get confused with the Miss and the U or the YOU or any of that. It's none of that. It's MISS with a dash, the letter U dash gram, GRAM.com. So I just want to make sure that it was very clear for people. And is that the best place to get in touch with you as well? Like contact page or
if you any social media platform and you put Miss Ugram, you'll find me. Sometimes you might need to use an underscore, but you'll find me. You'll find me, and I'll be there, and I'll be happy to connect.
Awesome. Excellent. Hey, is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to address today or mention or any of that?
I do have something that I'm excited about, and I don't usually boast, but today I do want to give myself a little shout out because
yes, do it. Oh yes, definitely.
Yesterday I came home to this big book in the mail. It's really, really heavy. And like over here somewhere, like on page, let's see, what page did I open up to? I opened up to page 2027. Oh, a few pages back on page 2019, you'll see an article on me, which I'm really excited because
cool.
you know, when you put a lot of work in, you know, I'm like I said, I'm going into my 10th year, Trent, and just now it's starting to bloom, and people are like, oh wow, you're doing this, you're doing that, but they didn't see all behind the scenes work, right? Right? You know, sometimes it seems like, oh, so glorious, you're doing this, you're going here, you're speaking there, you got a book, but so this just this to me means a lot because it's like, you know, it's this book is in the Library of Congress, right, in Washington. Cool. And this is my legacy. You know, the blood and sweat equity is here, and now that's in history, and I'm excited about that because it wasn't in vain. So
congratulations. That's really neat. That's really cool. Congratulations. I'm very happy for you.
And you guys are the first one to hear it. I want to share it on social. I want to share it on social. I didn't get around to it yet. I'll probably do it later or tomorrow or in the next couple of days. But here on your show, Conquerors Crew,
that's awesome. Time to hear it, that's awesome. I love it. Breaking news, guys. Yes, it's always news. Here, right?
Breaking news on page 2019, but
yeah, right.
Nonetheless.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say 2026. I was going to go like, whoa, now that's just too. That's too.
But 2019 is actually funny because even though I had put in for my mark in 2017. Actually, 2016, I started the paperwork for my registered mark in the operation system. Then it went on to 2017. If anybody has ever done a patent, you understand, you know, the long run it is. And I didn't get officially registered until 2019. And just around this time, too, it was April 2019. So to be on page 2019 means a little bit more to me than anybody else. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, guys, you know, like I always like to encourage you to do, if you feel like you want to get in touch with Patty, you have to make the first step. You have to make the first move because she can't read your mind, right? And I know that from talking to her, that if you can just send her a couple line email, that she will come meet you where you are and wherever you are at your level, at your place, okay? And so that's what I always encourage the guys to do is, hey, if you have the feeling, you have to make the first step. You got to muster up a little courage. You got to gather it up, and you just have to just write that line or two and hit the send button. So if you feel the need to talk to Patty, do it, guys, because it'll be worth it, okay? Hey, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
What a fun, awesome guest, and thanks for putting up with the choppiness and everything. And
it was awesome. It was awesome.
Choppy great to have you. So,
like a salad.
If you don't
like
have anything else, I'm going to take us out. If you don't mind, just stick around for a minute after. You know how StreamYard works. Okay. Hey, guys, another awesome episode. Patty, thank you so much for being with us. God bless. Godspeed to you all this week. And never forget that grit don't quit. We are out.